All right, here we go. We back? We live? We are live. Can you all hear me? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I'm switching over to a Bluetooth here because the only thing I'm doing with all this stuff is like audio usually sucks with these things. So that's why I went to the high-end microphone before, and now we're going Bluetooth here, so hopefully you can hear me pretty well. Okay. All right, I got a thumbs up. Great. Okay, we're going to rock and roll then. All right, so we got Allison, my head assistant, back here, and we're going to talk a little bit about fill light. One of the main times you want to use fill light. Ooh, hang on a second. Somebody leave me a voicemail. Go away, go away. One of the main reasons you want to use fill light is especially if you're ever using a hard light source. Like right now, I'm using a hard LED light source. And if you're ever stuck using just a bare speed light, you don't have something as nice as a Gomo box or any other thing to soften up that light and make that light source a little bit larger, you end up with a harder light source. What does a harder light source mean? Gives you a little bit sharper shadow, gives you a deeper shadow. Or if you're in a situation where you are using a nice soft light source and you've got it really close to the subject, it also creates a high contrast ratio. So the difference between the highlight side of the face and the shadow side of the face can sometimes be, I don't know, 4 stops, even though you're using a big softbox. And that's a high contrast ratio. It's still soft light. Don't confuse soft light and contrast ratio. Contrast ratio is the difference between the meter reading on the highlight side of the face and the shadow side of the face. You can be using really, really soft light and still have a high contrast ratio. Hopefully you got a chance to demonstrate that a little bit later. So, in this situation, we're creating a little bit of loop light on Allison. Let's turn her head a little bit. Hello. Come back this way. So we're going to be a little bit more of a Rembrandt, getting closer into Rembrandt. This is a situation where you maybe want to bring in some fill. I like this as a dramatic light source, but what's happening here? Okay, to the side of her head, especially with somebody with dark hair like this, is going dark. It's going to plug up a little bit. And the shadows, not everybody who's paying for photography digs shadows. So what do? Well, we'll use fill light. One of the simplest, cheapest, easiest ways to use fill light, and let's grab one here, is to grab a reflector. Boom, boom, boom. So we bring a reflector in, and we can do a what you see is what you get. So I'm using a white reflector here, and it's doing a little bit of stuff, okay? I'm getting a little bit more open shadow here, and it's harder to see, I know, in this kind of video format, but I'm getting a little bit of shadow there. So a white reflector, a big stand-up white reflector like this, isn't super expensive. It tends to give you a fairly soft fill light. I will tell you, though, I rarely ever use this unless I just need a really gentle fill, and sometimes I'll just throw this on the floor, if I just need a little light kicked up from below. But what I prefer to use is a super silver, a shiny silver. Why? It's a little bit more versatile. Okay, here's your super shiny silver. Okay, it's a little bit more versatile because what it can do is you can use it a little bit further back. Okay, you can see as I'm kicking a little bit of light in there, it's going to be a little bit more efficient because it's a shinier surface to the reflector. It's a little bit more efficient. You can use it further back and still be able to throw some light on there. Okay, other thing we can do. I was complaining about how her hair was going dark. We can kick a little bit more light into her hair and get a little highlight going in here in the hair. So reflector, one of the first things you should buy. So you buy your light, you've got your studio light or speed light or whatever it's going to be. So you got your one light. You're just getting started and you got your one light. The second light you should get is a reflector. Okay? Because it's cheap, it's easy to use, it's very portable. And I've got these stand-up ones that I use here in the studio. You can get the big round ones that fold up. It's a good exercise when you're out in the field, especially on a windy day. Trying to struggle with these things and trying to get them all folded up. You do it. Hey, where the heck is Yakusha? Well, hello there. Thanks for joining in. So, reflector, second thing you should buy. So I would consider doing that before I even bought a second light, especially if the budget is tight. And so everybody's budget is tight, right? Even pros like me who have 80,000 different lights and different toys, it's like I never quite have enough money to do exactly what I want to do. So use a reflector. Number one source for doing fill light. Again, fill light is to taste. Okay? You've heard talk about contrast ratios, and we're not going to get super deep into contrast ratios today because to me, contrast ratios are a matter of style and a matter of taste. if you're a member of PPA and you've gone through the CPP program, Certified Professional Photographer program, which I do highly recommend. I haven't done it myself. I've been a little snobby about it. My reflector's name is Phil. Very good. I like that. You should say, hey, Phil, get on over here. Anyway, I haven't done the CPP program, and I really should, mainly because I got my master's and I got my photographic craftsman, which are higher degrees, so I really should go back and get my CPP. But anyway, if you haven't done that yet and you haven't gone through any program yet, I do recommend, if you're a member of PPA or join PPA, and start to go down the CPP track, the Certified Professional Photographer, because they're going to teach you a lot of stuff I'm teaching today in a little bit more in depth. So this basic tool set that you got, that you can take out. Well, one of the things with CPP is they teach a 3-to-1 lighting ratio. Okay, so basically, the highlight side to the shadow side, the highlight side is 1.5 times brighter than the shadow side, 3-to-1 lighting ratio. And again, we're not going to get detailed on lighting ratio, because as a photographic artist, to me, lighting ratio is up to me and what I want to say here, and what the client looks like, what their face looks like, and what kind of drama we want in there. More shadow tends to be more drama, less shadow tends to be a little flatter, a little bit less drama, all that kind of stuff. I want to have control over that as a photographic artist. I want to dictate the terms there, so I don't want to feel like I have to do a 3-to-1 lighting ratio. Now, I will tell you, for basic headshots and things like that, the stuff that is easy peasy lemon squeezy, it sells every day, is your 2-to-1 lighting ratio and your 3-to-1 lighting ratio. 2-to-1, where twice as much light on this side of the face as you do on the other side of the face. 3-to-1, 3 times as much light here as you have here. It's a 1.5 stop difference, whatever. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Because I think now that I think about it, earlier I think I said it wrong. Anyway, watch it on the replay, you'll see me screw up. You do that stuff when you do this live, because you're doing this on the fly. So, to me, again, I want to take a look at this, especially if I'm using a constant light source like this, and do I like this? Okay? Now, if I come in here with a light meter, and just like we do in cooking shows, I pre-metered this. Popped here. Now, if I'm going to do the shadow side of the face, you all have a light meter like this, right? Please tell me. Seconic's like the main light meter out there. This is the 758. I've got a 358. My 358 is actually my favorite light meter, but it's been a little funky lately. You've got the dome. Okay? The dome out, dome in. Why dome out, dome in? Okay, this is going to read all this light coming around here. You suck this little dome inside, and it becomes a little bit more pinpoint on what's exactly hitting that dome. I've got this in an incident light mode, so that's going to read how much light is actually hitting this dome. And it's going to tell me the quantity of light. It doesn't tell me the quality of light. It doesn't tell me that's exactly what I should do, but what it's going to tell me is the quantity of light for base exposure here. Okay? So I metered this side of the face, coming back towards the light, aiming it at the light source. I got f6.3. I went over here on the shadow side, making sure that none of that light's hitting right here. I got f2. So I've got a pretty high contrast ratio. Now, if I just were to bring in a little bit more light here, I got almost a flat, well, let's see, what do we got here? I got f3.5. So I brought up my light quite a bit on the shadow side just by bringing a reflector in. I could bring it in even closer, as long as it's not going to be in the shot. And I can bring that, I'm almost up to f4. Okay? So there I'm getting into almost a 3-to-1 lighting ratio, somewhere in that ballpark. So just by using a reflector, we can fill in the light, decrease our contrast ratio, so the difference between the highlight side of the face and the shadow side of the face. Okay, so it's another tool in our toolkit. Maybe we will like the dramatic light, but especially in a situation like this, as I said, when we've got a hard light source like this, and we've got sharper edge shadow, you bring in that reflector, it helps fill in those shadows a little bit and soften them up. Okay, so that's one way to use fill light. The second way to use fill light is if we are using strobe. Okay, and I'll do this quite often in the studio. And I'm actually just I'm going to click off this light. Hang on. Move it out of the way and show you a little bit more of what my standard studio setup is. I'll probably have to pop this off of the tripod, but you can get a better idea of what's going on here in the studio. All right. these lights set where I normally would put them. Just as a good starting point. Okay. Here we go. Let's pop this off. So, hello. I never know where to look on this one. Hey, there's a camera. So I was showing a constant light source. If we're going to go to more of a studio strobe kind of situation, here we go. Over here to the side, this is my big Mobox, not my Gomo box. This is my Mobox. I have two different types of soft boxes I use. My in-studio, never going to go anywhere. Have I ever met Joel Stave? No, actually I haven't. This is my in-studio, never going to go anywhere because they're a pain in the butt to break down soft boxes, but incredible light and incredibly cheap. These are under $100 for, what are we, these 56-inch, 54-inch, I should know this, soft boxes. I'm just going to bring you around so you can see what we've got going on there, okay? So I've got a Molite AD360 in there as my key light, so it's coming in at an angle to my subject. This is my key light, this is what's going to give me dimension. But right over top, camera position, and actually a little bit, and we'll come back over here, and a little bit to this side, okay, a little bit to this side, is a fill light. Okay, and that's another one of those big Mo boxes. Again, these are my studio boxes, not meant to be like really portable for on location. And that's going to give me strobe light that I'm going to add in here. Okay, so my key light's going to give me light into here to try to give me. This is so funny. I'm pointing and I don't have the camera aimed in the right direction. Woo! It's January. So my key light's going to come in here and give me dimensional light here, creating a little shadow on this side. My fill light's coming in here, and it's going to help fill in that shadow. So I'm adding strobe light here. Now, this is a little different than using a reflector, because unless I bring my strobe light way from the side, like I was doing with the reflector, my strobe and my fill is hitting here, but it's also hitting here. And what's it doing? It's adding more light here in addition to my key light that's coming in here. So it's a little bit more of an additive lighting process. What does that mean? Well, we can meter for the key light, we can meter for the fill light separately, but they're going to combine. Okay? They're going to combine, and we're going to have to take a third exposure and get what that combo exposure is going to be. Because I guarantee you, if you measured this at f6.3 and you measured this at f4, this is probably combo now 7.1, somewhere in that ballpark, because they're adding light together. So just be aware of that. I'll go back here. Just be aware of that when you're using two strobes together and one's in fill light position, what I call nail down fill, it's going to be coming from pretty close to camera position, that it's not only adding light into the shadow side, but it's adding light into the highlight side too. And you've got to take a separate exposure reading so you know what that combo exposure is going to be. Okay? So, la 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 la. And get back on camera here. Okay, so we've got adding and reflector. We have actually pretty decent window light coming in here right now. It's going to help fill in the shadow here. Okay, still giving us dimension, so we still have direction to our light coming this way, still giving us dimension but filling in the shadow, giving us a little bit of highlight into the hair. We can do the same thing as I was just demonstrating with strobe. So we've got a key light over here. It's coming in at an angle. It's giving me a nice dimensional lighting pattern here. And if you don't understand lighting patterns, go back a couple of weeks on my website or on YouTube. And I talk about lighting patterns. I demonstrate lighting patterns. We got loop lighting, Rembrandt lighting, split lighting, butterfly lighting, all that kind of stuff. So if you don't understand that, I'm not going to take the time today. You can go out and look at that online. So I've got my key light here giving me a nice lighting pattern. I've got a separate strobe camera position, but a little bit to this side to kind of cheat a little bit more to the shadow side to help fill that in a little bit. And then that's always to taste. Okay, my key light is always setting my base exposure, but my fill light is always to taste to what I want to say about this particular portrait. Do I want to go dramatic? Do I want it to be relatively flat and sellable? Whatever. That's up to you. That's up to me. We're the photographic artists. We make those decisions. Okay? That's one of the reasons I like my Mo lights too, because when I'm using my strobes in the studio, let me show you this real quick. I've got my key light set to A. I can control that up and down in one-third stop increments. I want to control my fill light. I've got that set to B. I can turn that up and down in one-third stop increments. Then we start to talk about edge lights and fill lights and kicker lights and stuff like that. Not going to cover that today. That's going to be a separate show. Taking these things a little bit at a time, little bite-sized things, but as you take a look, and I'm aggregating all these shows on my website, you can go out there, check them out, kind of get a whole photographic education by the time you get through everything. So, again, thanks for stopping in, guys. I appreciate it. We'll be back next week live from Orlando. So I'm going to be broadcasting live from SPI down in Orlando. If you haven't checked out SPI before, man, it's one of the best values of any photo conference out there. It's incredible value, great stuff. Hey, thanks for the thanks, man. I appreciate it. Send the hearts in. Remember, if you want me to address any topics, send me a message. Message me on Facebook, message me on Twitter, send me an email through my site, michaelmowbray.com. Right there. And if I pick your topic for a show, I'm going to get down so I'm in the camera. If I pick your topic for a show, then I'll send you some free swag, a hat, a shirt, or a coffee cup. If you're tuning in late, just saw you guys coming in, replay is going to be available for 24 hours. And then a little bit later this week, I'll have this show recorded up on my site at michaelmowbray.com. Thanks for stopping in. Until I see you next week, stay caffeinated.